Welcome in, Guardians. Grab your coats and channel your inner Jon Snow because winter is coming. Today's build is the Stasis Hunter build using the newly reworked exotic Foetracer and Season 21's dungeon exotic, the ℍ𝕃𝕃𝕆𝕋. This build will have everything frozen and is a great way to control the battlefield for all types of content. But first, while you're here, hit that subscription button, ring that notification bell to stay notified of more builds, smash that thumbs up like, and leave a comment below telling me what you think of this build, what you would change, or what build you want to see next. I do respond to all comments and every interaction helps the channel. I also do stream on all major live platforms, whether it be Twitch, Kick, or right here on YouTube about 3 days a week. Be sure to swing by and let's run some content together. The links will be in the description. Now let's get into the build. At the beginning of Season 22, there was an amazing quality of life update where it made Stasis much easier to get. All you need to do is go to Europa and visit Elsie and get all the aspects, abilities, and fragments for your Stasis subclass. Next season, we are getting major Stasis updates, so it's time to start crafting these builds. Since we mentioned the abilities, aspects, and fragments, here are what we are going to use for this build. First, we're going to be using the only super class that you have for the Hunter subclass, which is Silence and Squall, summoning 2 Stasis commas, Silence and Squall that you throw one after another. Silence creates a flash freeze blast that freezes and damages targets. Squall creates a stasis storm that slows and damages targets caught inside. As for the dodge, we're going to be using Gambler's Dodge. Dodge to perform a deft tumble avoiding enemy attacks. Dodging near enemies fully recharges your melee ability. So this means, obviously for hunters, you don't build into strength, but there's really no reason to build into strength because you'll be getting your melee back over and over again. Plus, we're going to have multiple melee charges as is. For your jump, triple jump, I think it's just the best jump for hunters, so I always say pick that. And then for your melee, we're using Withering Blade. Toss a Stasis Shuriken at targets to damage and slow them, provides multiple charges. And as you can see, we're going to have multiple charges. We're also going to be dodging to get that back as well. Slow. Target has slowed movement and ability regeneration. Their weapon performance is reduced. Slowed combatants have difficulty firing accurately, and overload champions are stunned. After accumulating enough slow stacks, the target is frozen. So we'll be constantly putting these slow stacks on them. 1, like it says, it stuns overload champions, but 2, it'll eventually freeze them to where they can't do anything to you at all. And we'll also be using the 𝕃𝕀𝕃𝕆𝕎 grenade, a grenade that shatters on impact, leaving a field that slows targets and freezes those who do not leave the volume. So basically, you'll be throwing a grenade out there and it'll make like a little dome, and everything trapped inside will be slowed and eventually freeze. It's a good way to provide some crowd control. All right, up next we have our Fragments, Touch of Winter. Your Glacier, Dust Field, and Cold Snap grenades have enhanced functionality. So we're gonna look at that second one, Dust Field Grenade. Increases slow field size and creates a small stasis crystal on impact. So it'll create the stasis crystal, which has a lot of purposes, but it'll also make your bubble bigger so you can entrap more enemies with it. And we'll be using Shatter Dive. Activate while in midair to quickly descend and shatter nearby targets on impact. So what shattering is, when a frozen target is shattered, they take damage and deal damage to nearby targets. Shattered damages causes unstoppable champions to be stunned. This is another way to stop champions. You're gonna throw that Dust Field grenade out, you're gonna slow them, then freeze them, and you just dive in and just shatter them, causing damage to things around it and also stunning champions. So it's pretty dope. It's really synergistic with what we're doing. As for the first fragment, we have Whisper of Fissures. Increase the damage and size of the burst of stasis when you destroy stasis crystal or defeat a frozen target. So what this is gonna do is when we do that shatter dive and defeat the frozen target, or we destroy a stasis crystal from a Dust Field grenade or from freezing an enemy, we will get more damage, and that burst that happens when it explodes will have a chance to freeze and damage more enemies. Our second fragment, Whisper of Chains. While you're near frozen targets or a friendly stasis crystal, you take reduced damage from targets. So those stasis crystals we'll be making, when we throw a Dust Field grenade, we will be taking reduced damage as well. So if we get in there with the nitty gritty, but if we're also near frozen targets, we get the same thing. Plus you get a boost of Tim recovery, and that's never a bad thing. Up next, Whisper of Shards. Shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. So you'll be able to get that grenade back quicker so you can throw more Dust Field grenades out there. Plus you get a boost to resistance. Plus we'll have additional ways to make stasis crystals, so the more the better. And lastly, Whisper of Rending. Primary ammo weapons do increase damage to stasis crystals and frozen targets. So we will be using a primary stasis weapon. And because of that, we will be able to do more damage to the frozen targets that not only are weapon freezes, but are ℎ𝕆𝕃 grenade freezes, that are melee freezes. So it's very, very synergistic, and I think this is a very, very, very big piece to the puzzle. One of the main drawbacks of stasis has been that it doesn't deal as much damage. It's more of a, you know, support crowd control type deal. And I hope with this future updates that it's going to be more damage inducing. But stuff like this, plus really good weapons, can put the damage up there with some of the best. All right, before we get any further, let's go into the artifact real quick. There's not too much in this artifact that really pertains to anything. What I would get first and foremost is the unstoppable scout rifle. Yes, we'll have ways to stop unstoppables with stasis, but I would get that regardless. Get any of the anti-champion perks that you want to get. You can do anything from this second column, really, and honestly, you can do anything from the third column, really. None of these are really going to pertain to us. So you can pick and choose those if you want to have them ready for another build, so you don't have to go and change them for this build. So the main ones we're going to look at are from this last two sections, and the first one I would say to pick up is Elemental Fury. While stunned, champions take bonus damage from your abilities and elemental orb damage. So since you will be stunning champions, they will be taking more damage from your abilities, which we will be using here to slow and freeze. Up next, refreshing pickups. Picking up a Tangle or elemental orb grabs energy, your least powered ability. So in case we do for some reason create an elemental orb, or we do pick up a friendly Tangle or orb, we will get our ability energy back to the lowest one. And then lastly, semi-auto striker. If you have 2 or fewer stacks of armor charge, rapid precision hit shots from bows, snipers, and scout rifles generate an armor charge. Since we will be using primarily a scout rifle, if we do have less than 2 stacks of armor charge, this is another way to get it. And as you know, armor charge is amazing for getting those abilities back and other things. Up next, we have Monochromatic Maestro. Dealing elemental ability damage increases matching weapon damage. And elemental weapon damage increases matching ability damage. Bonus granted is 10% for 5 seconds. This is going to just give you bonus damage. You're going to be using your scout, you're going to be getting damage. You're going to be using your rocket launcher, you're going to be increasing your ability damage. Using your ability damage, you're going to increase both of those weapons damage. So it's just a really synergistic way to just produce more damage from this build. And lastly, I don't have all 12 perk slots unlocked yet, but I will here soon. The last one you should get is Rapid Fire Ranger. Rapid precision hits against distant combatants weaken them for a short duration. So this is going to cause a weakening effect, which means you're going to be able to do more damage. I think it causes a 15% debuff, and you'll be getting a lot of rapid precision hits because that's the whole purpose of the scout rifle we're using. So these synergize perfectly. But as you can see, there's not too much that the artifact deals with stasis. Next season artifact is going to be stasis focused. So I see this build even being better when that comes out. All right, let's get into the exotic weapon. This is built around the Wicked Implement, which came out in season 21. And it was a exotic you unlock by doing something a little bit different. You would get 3 exotic fish, which would get you exotic weapon parts, and you take the weapon parts to deep dive, and then you would have to beat an enemy and at the end of a 10-minute trial, I believe what it was, and you got the exotic rifle. Then, in order to get the catalyst, you would have to go do deep dives and I believe get to tier 7. I believe it's between 5 and 7 is the guaranteed drop, but then you get it from there and then you just work it out. Now, this mission wasn't the easiest mission in the world to do, but it was an awesome mission and I had a lot of fun with it. The difficulty to me was just right. And yes, it was frustrating sometimes because of that time limit. But hey, if anyone needs help, hit me up. Discord links below. Send a message on Twitch. Leave a YouTube comment. I will gladly run it with you. So, the intrinsic trait of this weapon, Creeping Attrition, rapidly landing precision hits cause targets to become slowed. And if you slow the target enough, they end up becoming frozen. Remember, slowed stacks equals frozen eventually. And you can just stun lock a champion over and over again. And a lot of times scout rifles are anti-champion weapons anyway. It's just really fun and I think it's really cool. It used to have just like a niche, but I think now because other implementations with it, it's just an exotic that you can use anywhere. As for the trait Tithing Harvest, destroys stasis crystals or precision final blows with creeping attrition is activated stasis shard that returns to you. Collecting stasis shards refill the magazine. Now stasis shards can be used for many things. In this instance, when you get them, those little blue shards you see laying all over like ionic tracers or whatnot, it will refill your magazine. Now, as I said before, they reworked the catalyst on this. Originally, all it was collecting stasis shards gradually overflows the magazine, which is nice. You get a bigger magazine, you can get more shots in, you can stun the champions longer, but it just seemed kind of meh. So this season, they added Headstone to a precision final blow spawns a stasis crystal at the victim's location. As we already saw from our abilities, aspects, and fragments, stasis crystals will have many functions. They will make it where you can resist damage. They'll make it where you can shatter them and hurt more enemies. It's just pretty awesome that they added this and made this weapon even better than it already was. It was lacking a little bit, but I think Headstone makes this exotic very viable. For your other weapons, you can really use whatever you want. I really do like the Cold Comfort rocket launcher from the Ghost of the Deep dungeon. I really think that the origin trait, I should say, Restoration Ritual is really awesome. Revive the allies or defeating combatants with finishers reloads this weapon and readies an emergency reload for the next time this weapon runs out of ammo. So you'll be able to get more than that one in the magazine after you revive somebody, and that's really, really good for boss DPS. And it's an aggressive frame, so it has high damage. You can get all kinds of really different good damage perks to it. So if you can get one with like bipod is even really good, or reconstruction. I don't know if reconstruction comes on actually. Let me not quote you on explosive light. But yeah, that's really good for your heavy or any other stasis really. And then as for your secondary weapon, there isn't very many stasis secondary weapons out there. I believe if you use the tessellation, you can get stasis, and there might be a few others. I know I don't have any. So what I would recommend is use whatever you need in your secondary to be an anti-champion weapon. All right, let's get into the stats real quick. As always, 100 resilience is big time. I want high mobility so I can get that dodge to get the melees back. And then of course you want your discipline as high as possible, throw as many dust-filled grenades as possible. All right, as for the exotic helmet Foetracer, yes, it's another reworked exotic, and I think they did a really amazing job with it. So the original perks went over to Knucklehead Radar, and this got a brand new perk overall. Relentless Tracker, damaging a powerful combatant or guardian with an ability grants you temporary bonus to weapon damage matching your subclass type. Defeating that target with a weapon matching the damage type of your subclass creates an elemental pickup. So in our case, it will create a stasis shard. So this synergizes really great with stasis because there's not very many stasis exotics out there. So basically, you'll kill with your weapon, you do more ability damage. You kill with your ability, you do more weapon damage as long as they're both stasis. What does that sound like? That sounds like the 10% bonus that we get from 𝕃𝕃𝕃𝕆𝕋. So we'll get double the damage and double the bonus from both. So you'll get more damage from both things by doing more ability damage. You'll get more damage from both when you do weapon damage. So it's really, really synergistic. And honestly, Foetracer is just an amazing exotic right now. It was so good that it actually got shut down for Crota's End raid and wasn't allowed to be used in the raid. And you know you have to be a good exotic or perk or aspect or fragment if they won't let you use it in a raid. Here we'll get into the mods for the build. And as I always say, for your general armor mods, use whatever you need. And sometimes these builds, my other mods are built around, you know, the general armor mod that I need to hit those marks that I want. So I might give some suggestions on other things to run if you don't need a resilience mod at the 4 energy, or you don't need a resilience mod at all. You don't need a discipline mod. You want to add a mobility mod. So I'll kind of give you some suggestions of what you could use instead. As for the helmet, we're going to use Harmonic Siphon. That way we get orbs of power when we kills with our stasis weapon. And with this, I also use Ashes to Assets. Now with here, I have 2 Harmonic Siphons. It's only because I don't really have points to do much else with it. Ideally, you would want to have 2 Ashes to Assets here, and Ashes to Assets and a Dynamo and the Harmonic Siphon. But as long as you have Ashes to Assets and you have a Harmonic Siphon or a Stasis Siphon, depending, you know, whatever you're doing, but it's harmonic, it's because we're using stasis, it's going to only cost 1 and it's going to be stasis. That's what I would recommend to do. As for the gauntlets, I use 2 grenade kickstarts mods because those dust-filled grenades are amazing and they're really integral part to this build. So any way that you can get them back quicker, the better. Here you could also as well, if you didn't have 100 discipline, which I do not, you could use like a font right here, a font of focus to give you a plus 30, which will make it to where you have above 100 discipline. Before the build overall, you want to try to get two grenade kickstarts. What grenade kickstart does do, when your grenade energy is fully expended, you gain grenade energy. Additionally, your armor charge is consumed when you gain additional grenade energy for each stack. So since we're going to have constant armor charges up from whether it be getting it from being less than 2 and hitting precision hits, or getting it from orbs of power, whatever ways, you'll be able to get that grenade back quicker because you'll be getting a giant boost to grenade energy. And an impact induction, because causing grenade damage with melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. So because you're going to have those infinite shurikens, you're going to be constantly bringing your grenade back. And any way you can bring your grenade back, the better, because then you can just AoE affect all of the adds. Now on to the chest mods. We're of course, as always, going to be using charged up, increases the maximum number of stacks of armor charge you can carry by 1. This is just phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like, the more armor charge that you get, the quicker that grenade, the more energy you get back from that grenade kickstart, the better. And then you can really use any resist you want to use right here that you want to. It doesn't really matter what you use, whatever you feel best. As for the leg armor, we're going to be using stacks on stacks. Picking up an orb of power grants you 1 additional stack of armor charge. And as you saw before with charged up, we have an additional slot for armor charge, but now we're getting an additional stack just by picking up an orb of power. And armor charge, as you saw, is going to help you get your grenade back quicker, plus other things. Up next, we use Innervation. Reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. So we'll be getting those dust-filled grenades back quicker with the orb of power pickup. And lastly, you'll be using Stasis Weapon Surge. Your stasis weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have an armor charge. Your armor charge now decays over time. So yes, your armor charge will be slowly decaying, but the extra damage you get from the Stasis Surge is going to just help you kill enemies quicker. And because, like I said before, Stasis isn't always the strongest, having that extra rapid damage is great. And lastly, for the cloak, I have Powerful Attraction, automatic collection nearby orbs of power when you activate your class ability. We're going to be dodging a lot to get those melees back, so we'll be grabbing those orbs up to get other abilities to regenerate as well. So it's always a great mod to have if you can. We'll be using Time Dilation. Your decaying armor charge has a longer duration. So even though we're using that surge, I like to have dilation so that the mods last a little bit longer. So in case we do need that grenade's kickstart to kick in, we can end up having those armor charges lasting longer for us, or keep that damage up from the surge up longer. And lastly, Bomber reduces grenade cooldown when using your class ability. And since we're going to be using our class ability a lot, we'll be reducing the cooldown of that grenade. And as we said before, those dust-filled grenades are going to be huge with just controlling adds all over the field. And everybody, that is the build. This is an absolute blast. Freezing and controlling the battlefield with Stasis. I can't wait to see the updates coming next season, how much better this build gets. The dim link for this loadout is in the description below. Leave a message in the comments what you think of this build, if you tried it, or what build you want to see next. Hit that subscribe button, smash that thumbs up like, and ring the notification bell, and check me out live on the platforms below. I do hope to see you there, and until then, feel free to click on one of the videos on the screen right now for more fire builds and awesome Destiny 2 content. It's been your boy 𝕃𝕆𝕃𝕆𝕎 out. Peace.